Okay, so looking over feedback on one of my previous videos, one of them was that my videos are too long and I should get to the point. Well, I welcome all feedback, and I think that person made some fair points. I do talk a bit long sometimes, so I'm going to get to the point with this one. And I'll try and bear that in mind for future videos. The guy also mentioned I should add humour and animation. Humour, I'm not going to lie, it's not my strong point. I'm just not. Some people are good at humour, others not so much. So I'm not going to try and be something that I'm not. I'm not a funny guy particularly. Can be, but it's not my strong point. So I'm not going to try and pretend to be something that I'm not. You know, if you want to watch a video about humour, then there's plenty of videos for that. But I cover serious subjects, so it wouldn't be. I don't think there's a necessity to add humour. Animation, well, that would be nice, I agree, but I'm not really sure how to go about that. Anyway, the subject I want to talk about here is International Women's Day. This is a UN event sort of to highlight the role that women have in the world. They form half the human population, and it's an important thing. I actually support this. That might be surprising to some people, given my videos are very cynical about feminism, but the reason I support it is because it is important to have a recognition of both the role women play in the world and the many issues that do impact women. And also, another reason I don't have a problem with it is because there is also an International Men's Day. So it is egalitarian. It isn't a case that there's this Women's Day and there's no recognition of men, because there's also an International Men's Day, which I believe is in November. I do think that it is important to highlight this. Actually, I've just watched an interesting video. A group of Afghan men were wearing burqas and going down a main street to show that, especially under the Taliban, that is something that women were forced to do. So these guys were sort of highlighting women's rights issues in a country like Afghanistan, which still remain chronically bad. Although I would argue it has improved since the days when the Taliban had complete control of the country. The situation still remains very challenging for women. And when you consider, for example, how girls' education is targeted by Islamist groups, when you consider that a very high proportion of women remain illiterate and have far fewer opportunities than men, then it is a very legitimate issue. Whenever I've spoken out against feminism, it hasn't been from the context that I'm against women's rights. I've always tried to make that clear. Nor do I believe that everything is perfect for women, even in Western societies. I don't actually believe it is. I believe there are many areas around the world where there are legitimate issues concerning women's rights that do disproportionately impact women. Now, some people will say, well, in many of these countries there's a general human rights problem, and that's true, but for example, it is fair to say that in South Asia, in India and Pakistan, there remains a very serious problem of violence against women. That's also true in Latin America, and this is disproportionate. It's not a case that men are beaten up equally by their wives, certainly not in Latin America. So I think it is legitimate to express concern about these things. And when you have Islamist groups who shoot girls simply for having an education, it is important that those issues are raised. I have always staunchly believed in equal opportunity. I think that is the main thing. Not necessarily equal results. I don't believe in quotas. I don't believe in 50-50 scenarios because I think it's just unrealistic. There may simply be professions that just happen to have more male interest. So I don't believe in quotas because I believe they're undemocratic and actually rather patronising to women. However, I do believe that companies have a responsibility to make themselves open to everybody, to make themselves focus on equal opportunities, not equal results, but equal opportunities. I think it's just naive to expect companies to have 50-50 scenarios, and there's going to be other areas where there's always going to be more women, and I really don't see a problem with that. As long as men are given an equal opportunity, and vice versa, as long as women are given an equal opportunity, that is the issue. What else can I say? Regarding women's rights, there are, like I said, there are many things around the world in certain parts of Central Africa women are routinely used as weapons of war. There's a rape crisis in the DRC that is staggering. It's much worse than what's happening in India. Something like 40,000 women were raped in one region alone. I believe it was Kivu region during the Second Congo War, and this is a very brutal situation. Honour killings disproportionately affect women. They do target men as well, but women are disproportionately affected by honour killings. And there's certain attitudes towards women. I made a video recently about the lynching in India, and I stand by that. I think it was barbaric what happened to that man, whether he was innocent or guilty. But it is true that there are a lot of men out there who have a very bad attitude towards women. And this guy, Mukesh Singh, one of the Delhi accused, when he came out and said girls are more responsible for rape than men, I believe that men have a responsibility to say that is outrageous. It's a disgraceful attitude to have, especially for someone. He isn't even sort of saying I'm innocent, and he's not even trying to say that he's innocent. He's actually so brainwashed by his bullshit attitude that he thinks it's okay to. He thinks it's actually legitimate. I think that's an utterly disgraceful attitude. There is never any justification for rape, especially such a brutal rape. So basically, but I don't think International Women's Day should just be about human rights and about how far in some areas women need to go to get equality. It should also be about celebrating women and many achievements that great women have had. One of the women I respect most of all is Eleanor Roosevelt. She was one of the people behind the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I believe her role in history was profound. Aung San Suu Kyi is another woman I have great respect for, and there's many other examples. So anyway, to any women who are watching this, happy International Women's Day. Personally, as a man, I love women. I'm saying that in a generic sense, and I'm very in favour of this day. So happy International Women's Day.